에스겔, 이지키엘, 뒷맥기. 에스겔 1에서 48장. What happens when God's chosen people take the place God intended as hub of His life-giving presence and corrupt it into source of abuse and injustice? 하나님의 선민이 하나님이 의도하신 그 자리를 취할 때 생명을 주는 존재의 허브로 취할 때, 그리고 그것을 남용과 불의의 원천으로 그것을 부패시킬 때 무슨 일이 일어나는가? Walk with Ezekiel through the tragic loss of the temple in Jerusalem to see how God will bring restoration, hope, and new life on the other side of exile. 예루살렘 안에 성전의 비극적인 손실로 하나님 어떻게 회복을 이끄시고 회복과 소망과 새 생명을 이끄시는지, 그 포로의 저편에서 에스겔과 함께 보자.
Welcome.
Howdy.
Hello. Yes. Welcome to our Bible Project classroom class on the scroll of the prophet Ezekiel. The deep end of the pool, my friends. Yes. For those of you taking the class online, welcome. We're so glad that you're here. We are going to take the next many hours and sessions to take a deep dive into one of, I think, one of the most challenging scrolls in the entire biblical collection to read. I've had a lot of personal history with the Ezekiel scroll just in my education and life journey. I actually remember really vividly the first time I read Ezekiel. I was in my early 20s and I'd just been following Jesus a year or so and was trying to read the Bible because that seems like a thing that you should do. And I still remember vividly certain passages of Ezekiel, reading them for the first time. Aside from the Song of Songs, it has some of the most explicit sexual imagery anywhere in the whole Bible, shocking, and it's on purpose. There's more anger. Well, that's true. There's more mention of God's anger in the book of Ezekiel than any other book of the Bible. Ezekiel undergoes a lot of really intense personal experiences of suffering and loss, almost more than any other prophet in the Hebrew Bible. So it's the deep end of the pool. But there's also immense wisdom here for God's people, but it requires some work to get there. A first reading at face value in a translation, you can pick up a lot of what's going on. But I have found the more time I spend in the Ezekiel scroll, after I've been spending time in lots of other parts of the Bible, the Ezekiel scroll just begins to shine with even more color and vividness. So what a privilege that we get to take this time. We're glad that you're here with us, students online, and we're going to go for it. But first, let's not take for granted that it's like a normal thing for people to gather around a table or in front of a screen and to read the scroll of an ancient Israelite prophet. Like, that's not a normal thing, you know? It's definitely not what your friends are doing, or most of your friends are doing right now. Maybe you're taking this as a group. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not, like, why would you do this? Why would we put ourselves through the work and effort it takes to read the scroll of an ancient Israelite prophet? So what I want to do in these first few sessions is orient us. These are the things that I wish I would have known, that I would have shared with my early 28-year-old self, that would have helped me have perspective the first time that I was reading through the book, or now for whatever, the 50th time. These are things that have been helpful for me. So we're going to spend the first 4 sessions just orienting ourselves around what I call just key starting points that I think will set us up for success as we go into the book. And the first one, like I said, is backing up and saying, why would any group of people from around the world want to read the scroll of an ancient Israelite prophet? So let's not take that for granted. If you're taking this class, for those of us who are here, odds are very high that the reason you've even been exposed to the book of Ezekiel is because you have either grown up in the Jewish tradition or you're a follower of the Jewish Messiah, that is Jesus of Nazareth. That's how most people are introduced, and why most people are introduced to Ezekiel's scroll, is because they believe that in some way it's connected to who Jesus is and illuminates him in some way. And Jesus certainly thought that was the case. And for me, this is actually a really important starting place as we dive in. I'm just going to pull up and read for us a short passage from the Gospel according to Luke. The last chapter of Luke, these are the resurrection appearances of Jesus to his followers. And the story right before where we're picking up is the well-known story of where there's 2 disciples of Jesus walking away from Jerusalem, and they're crushed and devastated still by Jesus' execution. Because for them, it represents the dashing of all their hopes and dreams. And so Jesus appears to them, but they don't know it, that it's him. And he begins to have a conversation with them. And what he tells them in that conversation was, listen, why are you so surprised at what happened over the weekend? That's my paraphrase. What he says is, "O foolish men, slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have spoken. Was it not necessary for the Messiah, Christ, to suffer these things and enter into his glory, enter into a place of honor?" So in Jesus' mind, like he's pretty disappointed that his closest followers didn't understand more quickly what was going on. And Jesus apparently believes that if you read the scrolls of the prophets, you would get it. That's interesting. Beginning with Moses, that is a shorthand for the Torah, of the Hebrew Bible, the first Bible, the scrolls of the Hebrew Bible. And then going through all the prophets, he explained to them the things about himself in the scriptures. As they approached the village where they were going, he acted like he was going farther. I love this, is great. And so they have a meal, and it's a remarkable part of the story. A little bit later, we're told, going down to verse 36, the 2 that Jesus appeared to go and tell a larger group of the disciples. And so they're telling, like, hey, we just saw Jesus, and we had this, like, Bible study hike while we were walking. And then all of a sudden, Jesus is there. And he stands there saying, "Shalom, shalom." They were frightened. They thought that he, was some kind of ghost or spirit. And he said to them, "What? Why are you troubled? Look, it's me. Look at my hands and my feet. Does a ghost or spirit doesn't have flesh and bones as you see that I have?" And while they still could not believe it because of their joy, he said to them, "I'm so hungry." I think we're supposed to chuckle at that point. He's like the first walking, talking piece of the new creation. The resurrection makes the guy hungry, I guess. "Do you have anything to eat?" And they gave him some fish. So he's sitting there eating in front of them, You can just imagine him munching, and he's talking. Listen, I've been with you for years, you guys, and I was telling you this. All the things written about me in the Torah of Moses and in the prophets and in
나에
the
대해서
Psalms had to be
율법서와
fulfilled. And then he opened their
토라와
mind to understand the
선지자서들에
scriptures. And he said to
기록된
them,
것이
hey, listen, if you need
이루어지는 거
just
아니냐?
a 101 course on what the collection of Hebrew Bible scrolls is about, here it is. The Messiah would suffer. He would rise again from the dead
그리스도가
on the
권한을
third
받고
day. And
죽은 자
that
가운데서 3일
repentance
뒤에
for
일어난다.
forgiveness of sins would be proclaimed in his name to all the nations,
죄
beginning from
회개와
Jerusalem.
용서
So this is Jesus' shorthand.
그의 이름으로 만민에게
He's not just quoting one verse. There's no one verse in Isaiah or Ezekiel or Deuteronomy. He's doing a synthesis of core themes that underlie the whole collection. That God's people and that the human family is in need of an anointed representative, Messiah. That anointed representative would go into death, suffering, but then rise again out of death on the third day. And that somehow that anointed representative going into death and out the other side opens up a whole new world for everybody else. Opening up this opportunity for people to turn so that all of their failures can be accounted for, covered, and a new world can open up, proclaimed in his name to the nations. So that's Jesus' summary of the Hebrew Scriptures. And so let's take Jesus at his word, that whatever it is that the Ezekiel scroll means, reading it as a follower of Jesus means that I'm reading it to gain deeper insight into who Jesus Messiah is. And so we're going to be shocked and disturbed and confused and puzzled and elated and excited about all kinds of things in the Ezekiel scroll. It's a remarkable scroll. But this is a really important starting point, at least for me. Whatever it is that I'm frustrated with or confused by or excited about, I need to always remember it fits in somehow to this larger mosaic or portrait that Jesus sees in the Hebrew Scriptures, which is a story about an anointed representative who, for some reason, he doesn't say in this summary, but for some reason, humanity and Israel needs a representative who will go into death. But that would be a tragedy if it weren't for the fact that the God of Israel is involved, who's the creator, who can bring life out of death. And in that coming out of death of the representative, it's a new future for everybody else. And so that, let that be one of our starting points. And we won't be able to go through every passage in the book of Ezekiel. We won't solve every puzzle. But I hope that this course can act like a guide. I'll play a tour guide. We're going to read a lot of Ezekiel together and ponder it. And my goal will be to take us to what are the right places so that as we go through the book, and then as you go away from this class, you can go discover all new things in the Ezekiel scroll for yourself. So this is sort of like, if you go to France, most everybody feels like we should go to Paris, Paris. And and you get a tour guide. Not that they can give you a comprehensive tour, but so they can, give you a lay of the land, so that when you part ways with them, you can go explore for yourself. And that's what we're after in this course. So that's our first starting point. Somehow, even if it's hard to understand how, we need to always come back to this point. Whatever passage we're in, somehow it fits in to this overall portrait that Jesus says the Hebrew Scriptures are about. Starting point. Let's go to another starting point, shall we? Okay. I'm just going to read the first few sentences of the Ezekiel scroll. You'll see them either in the notes or on the screen in front of you. Now, it came about in the 30th year, on the 5th day of the 4th month, while I was among the exiles by the river Kevar, the skies were opened, and I saw visions of Elohim. In the translation we'll be using in class and in the notes, all for the